Hi, welcome to the Christian Bookshelf. Today I want to tell you about some books that I finished up in the last few weeks or so and let you know what I thought of them. First up is The Girl from the Hidden Forest by Hannah Linder. This book is about a girl who's kidnapped when she's little, and then when she's an adult, she gets kidnapped again. And it is all about that journey of trying to figure out why she was kidnapped in the first place and why she was re-kidnapped. And of course, there is a love interest in here as well. Now, this book was a slow start for me. It took till chapter 4 before I really got into it, but then I couldn't put it down. But then when I got to the 80% mark, it slowed down for me again, but I was satisfied with the ending. So overall, I gave this one 4 stars. I also read Meet Me in the Margins by Melissa Ferguson. This one's been on my shelf for about a year or so, and I finally pulled it off the TBR and read it. I'm glad I did. What I loved about this book is the way that the main characters get to know each other was pretty unconventional. I don't think I've read anything where they got to know each other the way that they do in this one. And that to me just it made it so unique and satisfying to read over. And of course there's a good little twist in there. I saw it coming. I'm sure a lot of people would, but that didn't make it any less satisfying when I got to that point. Overall, this book also 4 stars. I also read The Desires of Her Heart by Lynn Cote, I think is how you say her last name. This one is a historical fiction and it takes place in the early 1800s. A girl and her family are moving from New Orleans over to Texas to start over new, and you meet some friendly and not so friendly characters along the way, one of which turns into the love interest. I liked the dynamic between them. I liked the sweetness of it being historical and more of a courtship than, a romance like we have contemporary romance. I do want to read more books by this author. I know she's got newer books that are out. I'm not sure what the genre is, but I would read her stuff more. I will say I gave this book 3 stars. It did have some good twists and turns in it, which I always appreciate. So take that for what it's worth. All right, I got some ebooks on the list. First one is Meant to Be by Storm Schultz. This one I picked up because it was a quick and easy book to read. It was adorable storyline, and it was perfect for, a quick 3-hour, 4-hour read, depending on your reading speed. I was able to get through it in half a day and feel satisfied with a cute little love story. Then I also read Memory Lane by Becky Wade. This is an author I've heard a lot about. I don't know if this was the right book of hers to start for me. I really liked the main storyline, but there were so many side stories going on that it really distracted me from the main plot. And it felt like it took me forever to get through it because I was shifting mindset into, okay, now I'm reading about this plot line, but now I'm reading about this other side plot that doesn't really have anything to do with the main plot. And I had to keep shifting gears, and that took me out of the story a lot. So I think if the author had cut those side stories out, it maybe would have cut 30 to 50 pages off of the book, and I would have had a more satisfying feeling overall. But I will be trying out more Becky Wade books. The next book I want to talk about is Summer Ever After by Courtney Kiesel. This book was a full 5-star for me. The only one on this list that was full 5 stars. I downloaded the ebook the day it came out on June 12th. I've been looking forward to it. By June 13th, I ordered a physical copy of the book because I loved it so much already that I knew I needed to have my own personal copy, and then finished it on June 14th. Now, this book is part of the Falling for Summer series, which features, I believe, 7 books and 7 different authors. This was the first book in that series. Courtney did such a good job setting up the town that all the books are supposed to take place in. It's like an island off of, I believe, the west coast of Florida. And she introduced a lot of the characters that are going to be featured in the other authors' books. And I'm going to read every book in this series because I already love them all. This was one of those books, and I can't tell you how long it's been since I've had this feeling in a book. This was a book I didn't want to end. It was so good. And I will read everything Courtney Kiesel puts out from this point on. The last ebook I have for you today is called Remember Destiny. It is by Jenny Sterling. So the one thing I didn't like about this book is it had a very much of an instant love feel to it, which is not a trope that I generally like, which is ironic because it was my real life trope with my husband when I met him 14 years ago. But it seems so unrealistic, even though I actually lived it, that for me in books it falls short. But I think the reason why it falls short for me is that my favorite part in romance books is seeing the characters start to develop feelings for each other. That's, I think, my favorite part. I like the lead up to the romance. I don't like the romance to just automatically be there. But I will say that I am a total sucker for a military romance. So it definitely had that for me. So Jenny Sterling, Remember Destiny, gets 4 stars. Now, shifting genres a little, sort of bit. This is a fantasy book, but it is Overruled by Brittany Joy. She also writes contemporary romance as well. I have read other books by her and I adore them. This one I also enjoyed. I don't know if it's considered a YA fantasy or not. It did have a magic system in there, but there wasn't a lot of world building, which can be good or bad depending on the reader. Sometimes I want to know everything there is about the world, and then I'll read a Brandon Sanderson book. Other times I just want enough to be able to follow the storyline. This was one where I was satisfied with the minimal world building because I wanted to know about the characters. I wanted to see that arc going through the story, not necessarily what this world was going to be about. This book also kept me guessing what the twist at the end was going to be, which I really enjoy. So this one got 4 stars, and I will read more of her fantasy books if she has any. Last but not least, on my list today, I have a nonfiction book. This is one for all the Christian moms out there. It is called Hard is Not the Same Thing as Bad. This one's by Abby. This one's by Abby Halberstad. I think that's how I say her name. I'm not great with names. This book, I got through the first quarter of the book, and I looked at my husband and I said that she's writing this book to me. Like the dedication should say to Lisa. Then the next 50% of the book I found completely irrelevant to me. And then the last quarter, again, I felt like she was writing directly to me. So I think this is one of those books that depending what stages you're in motherhood, certain parts will apply to you while others may not. Overall, I gave this 4 stars. At the end of each chapter, her husband wrote a dad thought about whatever topic the chapter was covering. That one was a miss for me, but it could be a hit for someone else. Something else she added in here was, at the end of each chapter, was the secular worldview about certain topics versus the Christian view about those same topics, and you could see them side by side. I really liked that. She also added questions to kind of ask yourself and muse over, plus action steps, which are always helpful. And she ended every chapter with a prayer. Now this was, she did reference scripture a lot. I know that's important to a lot of Christians, so if you're looking for that, there is plenty of that in here. So that's it for the books that I have finished reading. What I'm currently reading, there's 2 books I'm currently reading. One is an audiobook through the Libby app. It's Denise Hunter's Love Unscripted. I'm about 20% into it, loving it. The narrator's doing a great job. So I'll probably finish that in a couple days. The other book I'm reading is Fragile Sanctuary by Catherine Cowles. I do want to warn you that this is not a Christian book. There is lots of cursing, and if her other books are any indicator, there will be open door scenes. I just want to give you a heads up in case you pick up this book, you know what to expect. Now, the thing that I love about Catherine Cowles' books, even though I don't like the cursing and I don't want to read about the sex scenes, she brings characters who have suffered, have hurt, have trauma, and then you get to see them heal from that. And that really appeals to me in the books. While I do like a good upbeat book where everybody's happy-go-lucky, sometimes I want to see that pain, and I want to see people grow from it. So what I want to ask of you is if you know of any authors or books that have that same feel to it, minus the cursing and minus the sex scenes, please let me know because I will definitely go check those out. All right, that's it for today. If you have made it this far in the video, I appreciate you so much that I think you deserve to give yourself a thumbs up by clicking that like button below. And if you feel like more videos like this, you can always subscribe. I'll see you next time.